All right. Hey everyone, thanks for joining this week's Draftbit live stream. This is Nick. I'm joining you from Chicago in the US. Where is everyone else joining from? Hey man, how's it going? Awesome. So I'm just going to get started in just a quick second here. Before I do that, if you all have questions about Draftbit, if you are curious, oh, we're being joined by Brian today. What's up, Brian?
Hey, what's happening?
How are you?
I'm sick, but I'm here.
Yeah, I was especially surprised to see you join because you're not feeling well. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Brian. I'm one of the co-founders of Draftbit.
And CEO.
And CEO.
Brian's also in Chicago. Cool, so I'm just gonna, what we tend to do in these live streams is first to show you kind of what's new in Draftbit, and I like to give a few sneak peeks of things that are upcoming that you will hopefully see in the next week or two. And then we take some Q&A. Cool, looks like we're also being joined by Aman. What's up, Aman? How's it going?
Hi, Nick.
Hey, how are you?
I'm going well. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
Aman is in India. Aman, remind me which city in India you live in.
Oh, I live in New Delhi.
Awesome, that's right. So we'll show you what's new in Draftbit. Then I try to take Q&A, and then assuming we have time, then we just kind of continue on this community build that we started in the last few live streams. If you have questions for us, if there are things that you want to see us do, if you want a demo, if there's any questions from anyone who's watching, please just throw them in the chat of the platform of your choice. I always forget to do this, but I did not forget today. Sometimes people join and ask, how do I get into Draftbit? Draftbit is now in open beta, which means there's no more wait list. So if you didn't get an invite from us, just go to draftbit.com and go get your account now. Cool. Looks like Tim is joining us on YouTube. Looks like Tim did not want to join the stream today, but what's up, Tim? How's it going? Okay, cool. So, all right, I'm going to bang out some what's new at Draftbit stuff here. So, switch views. All right. So the first thing that's new, oh man, I lost my list that George sent me. I ask our head of product every Friday, what can I actually show? What am I allowed to show people? And then he sends me a list, and then I navigate it away from that list. So give me a quick second. Okay. Cool. So the first thing that is new in Draftbit this week is we got asked a lot about, hey, I accidentally deleted like this really complex view with a bunch of nested components that I was like really excited to build, and then I accidentally deleted it. It's very easy to accidentally delete things in Draftbit right now because I think you can just hit the delete key. The good news is that we've now given you the ability to undelete those things. So you see I just undeleted them. So when you delete things in Draftbit, they go into this brand new restore menu, and you can see that here it is, and here's that entire nested component that I just deleted. If you click the restore icon, it goes right back into your layer tree, right back where you deleted it from. So you can do that for both components as well as screens. So if I accidentally delete this screen, a little bit harder to delete a screen by accident, but anything's possible. You can go into your trash can for screens, and you can restore the screen, and it goes right back into your app. And here it is. Pretty exciting. We heard from a lot of you that we're moving fast in Draftbit. it can be easy to make a mistake, and you wanted some leeway to make mistakes in Draftbit. So hopefully that helps a little bit. As part of this, we also have given you access to a bunch more keyboard shortcuts. So you should be able to pull up the keyboard shortcuts either by firing it from this menu here at the bottom of the builder, or by, I think, it's the question mark, so command / should bring up the keyboard shortcut menu. I think it does. Or is it just /? Oh, I have some sort of system setting this taking it over. Anyway, we have a bunch of keyboard shortcuts for you. So undo, redo, copy, paste, delete. I think undo, redo even works on like styles if I'm not incorrect about that. So if I change this to flex start, then I can undo. Maybe I was wrong about that. I might be wrong about that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about that.
No, I don't. I think the revision history is only for deleting screens and deleting components. You can bring back components and you can bring back screens, and you can bring back the children of components. Obviously, if you have a bunch of stuff underneath it. But no, it does not work yet in the properties panel on the right hand side. So it's mostly for components and screens. It's kind of a revision history. You put it like that.
It's much easier to undo changes that you make in the properties panel, because if I change this, I can just change it back.
And you can always reset styles back to their defaults by clicking on that little orange button on the left side. So if you want, you can always reset things back to their default. But if you've deleted a component or you've deleted a bunch of screens accidentally, it's actually, before now they were just gone. So yeah, now you can try things out and you can bring them back. And if you, Nick, I don't know if you want to show them the little, you can toggle yourself into, you can go look at your history by toggling the history in either place, and you can see what's there. Nick, there you go. Nick has 3 deleted screens, so he could click on one of those and restore it if he wanted to and bring it back. And the same thing is true of components.
Yeah. So there's one more thing I was going to say about this, and I've kind of forgotten. So yeah, keyboard shortcuts. Oh, copy paste. So I should be able to, if I wanted to duplicate this set of components, I should be able to copy, and then maybe I want to paste it in the same place at the bottom. Yeah. So I just Control-C on this view, highlight where I want to send it, Control-V, and it pastes it as a copy into the layer tree where I put it. And then I can obviously delete. And then you'll see those things in revision history. So just making things it's a lot easier to move faster in Draftbit now than it was even a few weeks ago.
By the way, one of the cool things you can do with the copy and paste that Nick just showed is you can do it between screens. As long as you don't refresh your browser window, because we store this in the browser's local storage. But if you go to a different screen and you copy something, you can bring it to another screen and paste it there. So if you like something on one of the example screens, you can add that example screen, go grab that, hit Control-C, come back to whatever screen you're working on, hit Control-V, and boom, you got a copy of it.
So yep. So I just copied that nested set of bits into this other screen, and then it shows up right here. By the way, if I wanted to reuse this pattern, this image plus headline plus subhead, you can also always go and save these things as custom blocks, and then you can insert them in your app and other places. If you wanted to save this as more of a persistent fixture in your app, you can save it as a custom block. So lots of ways to move faster in Draftbit. We're super excited about this. It works really well, and it's kind of a nice safety net for especially users of Draftbit. By the way, in terms of revision history on the free plan, I think we've limited it to 24 hours, so you can say it'll store up to 24 hours of your revision history. And then remind me, Brian, the pro plan is like, is it 30 days or 90 days? I think it's 30 days. Oops. You might be on mute, Brian, or I might be on mute.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was on mute. So it will be 30 days as of the end of today. It's not 30 days yet. It's 7 days right now, but it'll be 30 days very soon.
Okay. Cool. All right. So that is undo, redo, trash and restore, keyboard shortcuts. The next thing that I will mention is, okay, so when you, we've got a lot of feedback from you all that when you want to, like publishing with Draftbit is a little bit confusing at the moment. And so we've worked on kind of, what happens with your Draftbit built app after you're kind of done working on it. There's a couple of things that I want to point out. The first is we are now piloting a program that's sort of it's like a human-led, kind of like a services program that's completely free for pro users. So you need a pro account to take advantage of this, but it's no extra cost on top of a pro plan. Where basically we will help you take your app into the app stores, wherever that whether you want to publish an enterprise build or you want to take it into test flight or the Google Play Store. So there's this new little graphic in the publish menu that says ready for the app stores, enable iOS and Android binary publishing. And when you click on it, you should get this little banner that says, tell us a little bit more about your app and someone will be in touch. So you click this button, it'll fire up the chat window, we'll ask you a few questions, and then within 24 hours, someone will get back to you about helping you publish your app. So super cool. Our goal is to get a bunch of people from Draftbit across the finish line into the App Store, and we're making that free for a limited time. And the only thing that you have to know is that in order to publish, you do need to export your entire project. And so this is export app is only available on the Pro plan. So you do need a Pro plan. It's $29 per month, best deal in town. So definitely take advantage of that before there are spots for that fill up. So that's publishing to the App Store. The other thing that we are mid the process of working on is making PWAs a better experience in Draftbit. So there's a couple of things about PWAs that have improved or in the process of being improved. The first is when you launch your PWA in the browser, if you remember, this used to be like basically a very stretched version of your PWA app. And so now, well, I don't know if you guys got, but I'm going to talk about what that was in just a moment. But now you get this nice sort of desktop experience, and it's flexible. So I actually don't know how to do this in Firefox. So I'm gonna tools. So basically, this is now responsive to the browser that you're browsing. So when it's in a phone, it's a PWA, and then when it's a computer, just turn this off. How do I turn you off? Get out of here. There we go. You can go back to desktop, the desktop experience. You can share this with people. You can have people scan your QR code and install the app on their phone. So this is just a much nicer experience for sharing your PWA with others. And that's brand new in Draftbit as of, I think, this week or potentially last week. But that's super exciting. The other thing that I'll mention is, I don't know if you all saw my screen when I first loaded this, but PWAs in Draftbit, I'm gonna mess up the explanation here a little bit, so Brian can correct me or Lon can correct me. But basically, PWAs weren't full PWAs. They were like 95% of the way there PWAs. And so we've upgraded what PWA packages look like, and so they function more like progressive web apps than they used to, including when you publish updates to your app, they will hot reload on your users' devices. So that little thing that popped up that said update build, when you publish updates to your app, your users will be prompted to upgrade directly from their installed PWA.
Yeah, and you can now install the PWA really easily on both iOS and Android and use it like a native app. It's different ways to do that on the two different platforms. But on iOS, you go to the share dialog and then you put add to home screen. And on Android, I think there's a different menu and you select like use offline or something like that. I forget the exact. I'm an iOS user, so I always forget that. But
so maybe
pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's pretty impressive. You know, I didn't have a full appreciation for how good PWAs have gotten over the years, but you know, PWAs is a pretty viable like publishing path now. Incidentally, you know, we get asked a lot when you publish your app to PWA and Draftbit, you kind of get this unique id.draftbit.app URL, and we get asked a lot about can I change the name of that domain to something else in Draftbit. So we don't have that yet, but one of our teammates, Angela, wrote a really good guide that's on tutorials.draftbit.com that walks you through how you can publish your app as a PWA and host it on your own domain. I'm gonna have to put it in here somewhere.
We also, Nick, I don't know if we announced this as well, but like if you are on the Pro plan, we will go in and help you set up a custom domain manually, which we can do on our side. So if you're on the Pro plan, you can just reach out and we will go set up a custom domain for you.
I did not know we did that. That's awesome. Did everyone hear that? Can you say that again, Brian? That I feel like that deserved repeating.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. But if you want to use a custom domain with your Draftbit PWA, you just keep publishing to the same PWA that you have been. But if you want, you can just reach out to us and we can add a custom domain to it. And we'll walk you through the steps you need to do to set up that domain. There's a little bit, you're going to have to, you know, if you have a domain, like if you owned like, snapwich.com and you were building a sandwich app, then you would have to go in and make some DNS changes, but we'll walk you through doing that. So all you need to do is just reach out and we can help you set it up.
That's awesome. And that's available on the Pro plan. Do you need an annual license for that, Brian, or can we do it on the monthly plan?
Whatever Pro plan. If you have a Pro plan, we'll do it.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. We have a question from William. What's up, William? Great to see you. It's actually not a question. William found a bug, which I love when we do this stuff live. So if you go to PWA in the landscape, I don't know, I can simulate this now. It's updating. Anyway, William said that if you open the PWA on your device and rotate. Yeah, that's so this is just display William's comment. This is a good one. We'll get right on fixing that. That's a good find. Thank you. Cool. So the next thing, what else am I allowed to talk about here? PWA publishing, PWA auto update. Okay, I think that's all the product team is allowing me to talk about this live stream. So I'm just going to double check on that. But while I'm double checking on that, if you have questions, if you want to see us do anything in Draftbit, if you just general Q&A, like start throwing those things in the chat so we can address them while I'm checking on everything here. Okay, so while you're typing up those questions, I have one more thing that I'm allowed to say, which is today, as a team at Draftbit, we're going to be sort of banging on our new Firebase integration. So Firebase is like imminent, and we're just doing internal QA right now. Actually, funny story, Peter, our CTO, and the Firebase team accidentally unfeature flagged that, and 9 people discovered it and started using it, and it worked pretty well, apparently. So we quickly realized that was not good, and remove that feature flag, but you know, that's a nice little test to know that Firebase is coming. Anyway, why am I mentioning Firebase is coming soon? We may go through a round of beta testing with our users. So if you're interested in beta testing Firebase, we're going to set up a private channel in the Draftbit community. That's at community.draftbit.com, and you just log in with your Draftbit credentials. We're going to set up a private channel for testing Firebase, and so look for the announcement. Maybe we'll announce it in the builder, or maybe we'll announce it in the newsletter. But if you want to help us test Firebase, we will have a sort of dedicated spot for you to do that with us. So stay tuned for that. It'll be pretty fun. We've never done this before, so you know, in addition to helping us beta test Firebase, you're also going to help us beta test the process of beta testing. But it should be, this is a really good thing to try this out with.
Because everything was the beta test before now. All users were in the beta test.
Yeah. Welcome to the Draftbit beta, everyone. Okay. Quiet group today. I have not gotten any questions or things that you want to see in the chat. So I'm going to give you 5 more seconds to ask something before when I am showing things in Draftbit, I'm switching back and forth between windows. So I can't see your comments once I start going deep on the topic. So speak now or forever hold your peace. Did I miss anything, by the way, Brian or Aman? Is there anything that I should have mentioned that we have that I didn't speak to?
Did you talk about the new simple components that we added maybe about a week ago?
I may have, but you know, it's always good to be a reminder. I did publish a little explainer video on our YouTube channel as well about simple components, but I'll just real quick. So we have these new simple layout components. I think there's 6 of them: row, stack, facer, center, circle, and square. And they're designed to be like really basic, like couple of settings, couple of props. Like a square is basically, it's got a background color and it's got a size, and it's just all. Let me scroll. The idea is that simple layout components help you do very specific layout things and nothing more, so you don't get distracted by all of the styles and properties that are possible to be set on more complex components. So, you know, like this purple square here, you can set a background color and a size, and then anything that you put inside a square is basically centered in the square. So if I maybe wanted to have a row of items inside of the square, I would open up the square, I'd put a row inside of it. And maybe I want to put all these images inside of this. Maybe duplicate this a few times. And you can see that these images are in a row inside of the square. The row component just literally lets you set the orientation of the items in the row and nothing more. You can't set the size, you can't set margin and padding, you can't do anything else but use the alignment settings of the row. So this was something that we got asked about a lot. You know, how do I do these very simple things in Draftbit? And you know, these components, these views can be very distracting. And so our attempt at this was simple layout components.
I think this is a great idea for someone who is not familiar with Flexbox algorithm or how it works, to get them started initially with a screen. So I think it's a great feature.
Yeah, Flexbox is one of those things when you understand it, you can do a lot of powerful things, but it can be really hard to figure out it's definitely the right thing to learn. But the great thing about these components is, as you mentioned, you can just dive in and not worry about understanding, Flex. You can just start building.
Yeah. And by the way, like, Brian's great at Flexbox. Aman literally wrote our Flexbox guide. I think we have it on our tutorial site. So this is coming from 2 Flexbox experts.
William,
so yeah, definitely.
William, we see your comments, by the way. We'll address them in a second.
Yes, thank you. See, I told you, once I go into screen sharing mode, I go down a rabbit hole. Okay, let's see. Let's get to some of these comments. So William asks, for that new PWA node, if you have a pro account, would that build with Draftbit button appear? So I think what you're asking is, oops, I'm in the wrong thing. I think what you're asking is all the Draftbit branding on the PWA landing page when you get there. And the answer is right now, yes.
Yeah. I think we should actually make that change, Nick and William, for you.
As of right now, yes.
We will we'll update that when we figure out the landscape mode thing that you posted about.
Yeah. Is this an easy fix, Brian, to remove this for pro users?
I think so. I'll double check, but I think so.
Okay. So yeah, so this is good feedback. We'll make a few updates to this. One is removing branding for pro users, fixing that landscape orientation bug, and then we should probably make it more explicit that you can that we will help pro users change this domain. So we'll maybe put that in the builder somewhere so people know. Cool. Next question. William asked, wow, so many awesome questions today, William. Thank you. I still have Firebase in my data, but there's nothing under the 3rd step where you have to describe collections. That's probably because you shouldn't have had Firebase at all, and that was related to us accidentally unfeature flagging it. So I'll just say, like, rest assured when Firebase is supposed to be released, and apologies for releasing it early, it should work for you. I won't say will because we are in beta, but that will not be an issue.
Hey, Nick, I got to jump off, but thanks, everybody. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me, Brian@draftbit.com.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good one. Sweet. Okay, cool. And then there were 2. Alrighty, so other questions. William pointed out that the live streams are like about 2 minutes behind, and so I'm telling people you have 5 seconds to give me your question, when in reality you have 2 minutes and 5 seconds to give me your questions. So keep them coming, and maybe Aman will remind me when we have a good comment or question to address. Yeah, cool. So today, I guess we'll just continue on our community build for a little bit here. So for those of you who are not familiar, my personal community build that I'm working on is a coffee app. And the idea behind the app is you would be able to explore from the universe of cool coffees that are out there and kind of check them in like you would with, say, like a Foursquare. And this is kind of modeled after an app that I personally use for craft beer called Untapped. It's kind of a similar idea. It's Foursquare for beer, Foursquare for craft coffee. And so last week in our live stream, we had Donald, co-founder of Draftbit, on, and we did something really cool, which was we live queried from a database of coffee that was an Airtable using Draftbit. So we wrote this really sweet query that uses Airtable's filter by formula API and we're actually able to live query coffees. And so the way that works is we have the search bar, and then we have a results area, and it's blank right now because I haven't entered a search result. And then as I'm typing, so maybe I want, actually I want to use the screen. Is that where it should have our decaf toggle? Yeah, cool. So as I type like, Colombia, what's happening is that search API is continuously updating the search results based on the search query that I entered. And what's really cool about it is that I don't have to like hit a submit button or anything. It's kind of live querying. And then we also, because we had time and because this API is so robust, we added this little toggle for decaf. So if I toggle decaf on, then it will show me only decaf Colombias. And the reason why that's cool is because coffee drinkers definitely break down between decaf and non-decaf drinkers. So this is really sweet. And the next thing that I want to do is be able to select an item from the search results, go to that item view page, and click check in. So I want to say, okay, I just had this Colombia coffee. I want to check it in like I would on Foursquare, and I want to enter some information about, okay, I have some notes that I want to take or some comments. Maybe I want to rate it 1 to 5. Maybe I want to explain, how I consumed it, whether I brewed it, whether I had a cup brewed for me at the coffee shop, whether I did a pour over, etc. And just other information about, my personal check-in of this coffee. So in order to do that, what I would first need is an item view screen for this coffee, for any coffee that we pass this item's ID into. And then I would have a button on that item view screen that would say check in, and that would navigate me to a check-in page that would pass that item's ID and would create a new check-in and associate it with that item's ID. So, so just to restate, navigate to an item view screen with a check-in button, click check-in, and navigate to a check-in screen that allows me to log my check-in for that coffee. I don't know how far we will get in the next 28 minutes. I have stumbled in the past with Airtable. I do have the Airtable API guru on here with me, Aman. So maybe we'll try and bang on this API and see if we can't get this moving a little bit. But let me show you what it looks like on the back end in my Airtable. How's that sound to you, by the way, Aman? Do you think we can get this moving?
I think it would be great because like the last time you implemented these switch button features and real-time search API, like I was amazed actually to see the real-time data thing working on with just a preview screen, inside a preview screen. So I think we would be able to achieve something in next 27 minutes.
Yeah, I was pretty amazed by that. I really didn't think that type of thing was possible. So anyway, so here's what my coffee Airtable looks like right now. So I have this tab called World, and what World is it's basically the universe of the coffees. Obviously, there are more coffees than this in the world, but these are just the ones that I have in my data. This data is actually from a previous startup that I ran, and so like there's obviously many more coffees in this. And then I have this tab called check-ins. And so check-ins is basically, okay, it's my, well, I shouldn't say it this way. It is all of the check-ins that have been conducted in the app itself. And the reason why I was about to say my, and then I corrected myself, is that right now there's no authentication in this app. And what that means is anyone who has this app on their device can create a check-in, and there's no idea, there's no concept of like, Nick's check-ins versus Amon's check-ins versus Brian's check-ins, because we don't have no way in my app yet to identify which user is logged into the app and whose check-ins are being done. So right now, this is a personal app for myself, and so I'm calling these all of my quote-unquote check-ins, but they're not technically my check-ins. Hopefully that made sense. So
yeah, we have a question from William. He just wants to know, like, can Draftbit process arrays in Airtable? I think it's a great use case.
That is a great use case. I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head. Do you happen to know, Aman? Otherwise, we can ask Donald.
I have no idea. Like,
okay.
So I think, yeah, I'll have to test it out because I haven't played with arrays using Airtable, and especially with multiple select fields. I have to see.
Okay. I'm just going to send this question to Donald real quick. Yeah, that's a good question. My computer is just crawling. So, all right, I'm sending that to Donald. We'll see if we can get an answer to you during this live stream, William. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new screen for, I kind of want like, actually, I think I might, no, let's just do this over. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have like an item view for my coffee that has a button on it. And if you all know me, you know that I prefer to explore the list of Draftbit template screens and use something that's already pre-built versus trying to create something from scratch.
We also have some new screens in the Draftbit.
You're right. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so if you all are familiar with the BookBit example app, we tore that app apart and put the example screens in the example screen gallery. So you might recognize some of these screens if you're familiar with the BookBit app. There's a reason why we did that, and that's because Aman is working on this badass multi-part guide that will show you how to rebuild BookBit, the example app, from scratch. And it's going to reference, I think, the example data set, but everything from screen building to creating navigation to connecting data to laying things out and theming and all sorts of other, everything from topics to advanced topics. I think you're like done with part 1. You're working on part 2. Is that right?
I'm extending the part 1. I want to cover the whole UI part.
Oh wow! Okay.
So we'll see something next week, I hope.
Sweet. So this example screen looked pretty decent to me. It's got an image. It's got, you know, title, description, some metadata. It even has things like price, which aren't that important, but I think I might have loaded the price data in there. So I'm just going to add this to my app. Let's go to it. And before I forget, I'm going to rename this screen to I want to call this coffee item, but I already have a coffee item screen, but it's okay. You can have screens with the same name in Draftbit. Okay. And so what I need to do is I need to build a fetch query that's going to accept the ID of the coffee that I selected from the search screen and pass in its data into this item view screen. So I think, well, let's open up the data panel first. So I'm going to go to my data Airtable. So I need to get a new, I need to to fetch one record from the world Airtable tab that accepts the item's ID. And so I think that it's as simple as I think that's the syntax. And to get an example, so I am, what the value that I'm looking for is actually this one. And so I have a column for ID in these tabs, but I kind of, when I did that, I actually forgot that table automatically assigns IDs to rows in Airtable. So this is the test value that I want. So when I plug the test value into the ID field and I test, I should get this decaf Columbia San Jose, and I do. Cool. So that's care of the fetch query. And so when I pick a different service, and I reset this, it should break everything, and that's okay. Well, this is pretty cool. It used to be in Draftbit that when you didn't have data flowing into a fetch, it like either red screened or just looked really weird. And now it looks like maybe there's some placeholders, or maybe not. Maybe that's not right. So get. And then need to pass in an ID. For now, just to demonstrate this, I'm going to paste this custom value just so that you can see what it looks like. You may not even need to do that, but alas. All right, so let's map some fields. So we need to first make sure that the item is looking at data.records. Maybe that's only for lists. I think it's only for lists. So image source, we want the photo. And then for the title, we want the name of the coffee. And then category, maybe we want I don't really have a concept of category for these things, so I'm going to just leave those blank. And then I think this might be like a text description. so it's all unformatted, but maybe I don't want that right now. I think this is enough right now just to keep things simple, so I can see the coffee and the name that's coming through, and I'll mess with the UI of the screen later. So then the next thing I need to do is pass the ID from the search screen. And to do that, I need to wrap the, we already have touchables, sweet. So I basically need to pass the ID of the item that I found in my search results to the item view screen, and so I need to create a new post request. Oh my God, let me do this. Sorry, I had a brain fart. I just need to add an action. So we're going to navigate to the new coffee item screen. And when we navigate, we're going to pass, let's call it world ID. And that is the ID. Remember I mentioned that I had an ID field, so I don't want fields.id. I want to pass the ID, the record ID that Airtable generates. That's just ID. And then when we go back to the item view screen, I'm going to fix up that fetch request to consume the world ID variable. And then we can test it and see what I broke, because I always break things when I do this. Get rid of this static value. I'm going to consume world ID instead. Refresh. Okay. And now we can test. So I'm going to test on my phone. And maybe as I'm testing on my phone, I will also, I think this might work in the, so I'm going to type in Colombia, and maybe I'm going to toggle decaf, I think that's cool. Oops. And maybe this one, so if I click on that, okay, we do deprecate navigate actions in this preview mode. But if I tap that on my phone, it does nothing. So what did I break? What did I break? What did I break? By the way, I have an answer from Donald on the arrays question. Donald said, we don't yet have arrays working, but we should have that soon. So yeah, good call out, William, and we will get working on that. Or we already are working on that, rather. I do not know why navigate isn't working. You're in the same navigator. On tap. Let's just try it again. On tap. Navigate. Coffee item new. Ask world ID. Oops. That's the ID. Let's retest. Let's try. This is not going to work, but fields.id. Well, let's do process elimination. So let's get rid of past data. Let's just navigate. See if that makes a difference. So navigate's not working. Let's try navigating to a different screen. Okay, navigating to a different screen works. So the next thing I'm going to do is just refresh my app. Sometimes things that affect the navigation stack don't always flush through on live preview. So I'm just going to hard reset. I'm going to recheck that I have both screens in the navigator. Coffee item new is in there. Search some coffee is in there. I don't need this navigator, so I'm going to delete it just in case. Pregnant pause. Delete this navigate action. Let's set it up again. Navigate to coffee item new. Past data. World ID. ID of the record. All right. This is very on brand for my live stream. It's right at 11:20. I get stuck, and you guys just watch me troubleshoot for a little while. But this is real life. This is how you make it. I'm doing it live.
This is how we beta test during the live stream.
We're debugging for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it works, by the way. So let me see if I can do this. So I have my search results, and when man, this is really washed out. Okay, so I'm just going to click on one, and you can see that this is the one that I clicked on. I can, if I click on a different one, it brings up a different one. So what happened? I think basically, sometimes what happens in Draftbit is that when you're building your layout and changing like things that are on the screen, Draftbit, the scope of the changes you're making, Draftbit knows that you've changed the code on the screen, so it's going to refresh the entire app's source code. Sometimes with different things that you make, changes that you make to navigation, the navigation code does not live on the screen. The navigation code lives in the app source code. And sometimes we have edge cases where Draftbit doesn't know that you've updated the navigation stack, and so it doesn't know to update the entire app source code. So this technically is a bug, and I'm going to let the engineering team know. But if you ever find yourself beating on navigation-related things, just always give your app a refresh, and then those navigation related changes get locked into the source code, and then it works. So that is what happened in my case. In fact, I think that this even works. Whoops. I think this even works when we're on the screen. Let's try it. Yeah, I knew that was supposed to work. So see, so I'm in the preview mode in Draftbit, and you can see that I can make this work. Okay. So I think just for purposes of, we've got about 5 minutes left in the live stream. I don't want to start on a new thing. I'm just going to start cleaning up this app a little bit, because we have a whole second set of stuff in the screen that I don't really need around like reviews. Actually, I'm going to leave that in there because it would be really interesting to set up a fetch list of all of the check-ins for this specific coffee. That's actually like a pretty sweet. I think I'm going to do that next. So this is an item view screen, and then below there's a second fetch that displays the most recent reviews, or in our case, check-ins of this coffee item. So why don't we tee that up for next week? But I'm going to leave all of this on there. So with just a couple minutes left in this live stream, let's do some Q&A. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. If there's anything that you want to see us do, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, I will kind of shut this live stream down in just a few minutes. And while you're tuning up those questions, and because I do know that there is a time delay, I'll just talk for a few minutes about a few things that are important to know that I want to wrap with. In Draftbit, we have this learn section. Please, if you have questions, always feel free to hit us up in this chat. But oftentimes you can get your question answered by the community by community.draftbit.com. We would really love to have you log in there and interact there. Again, that's community.draftbit.com. It's a single sign-on, so you just use your Draftbit account to log in. You can't do anything in there unless you have created an account in there. So definitely come join our community and chat with us there. We're going to be doing a bunch of cool things with the community, including organizing some beta testing, which I mentioned at the top of the show. If you are interested in beta testing Firebase, we're going to create a private channel for Firebase beta testers, and that will be in the community. So get your community account ASAP. And then documentation, docs.draftbit.com is your home for all of this API reference stuff. We've got, how-tos on pretty much every feature in Draftbit. And then, when I get stuck working with my Airtable APIs, I always come to our Airtable REST API guide. And I just, I can almost always solve my problem by just reading through these docs. Aman is here with us. Aman wrote these guides. They're awesome. They're super helpful. And you should definitely feel free to self-serve in here. And then the final thing is tutorials.draftbit.com. We're adding a lot to this site as well. Everything from started to more advanced stuff, publishing and using custom functions. We're doing a lot of cool stuff in here as well. So the three areas of Draftbit that you're going to want to know really well are community.draftbit.com, docs.draftbit.com, and tutorials.draftbit.com.
I'll put the links in the chat, but William has a question that you might want to look about Firebase authentication service.
Oh, sweet. Let's take a look. So William asked, will Draftbit implement its own authentication service, or would Firebase cover that? So Firebase has their own authentication service that's very robust, and we will be using that. So that's the answer to that question. If you already have your own auth, if you've rolled your own auth with your own auth provider and you're like not able to switch over to Firebase, please get in touch with us, either hitting us up in the chat bubble in the builder or sending an email to help@draftbit.com. We are working on ways for you to inject your own auth provider code into your Draftbit app. It's not a feature that you're going to be able to do yourself anytime soon, but we have a team that is working with a few power users of Draftbit to basically inject custom code into Draftbit at the app level. So a great use case for that, probably the best use case for that, is your own auth server. So if you want to store auth tokens in your Draftbit app and you can't use Firebase because you can't switch infrastructure, please get in touch with us, and we may select you to work with us on this new initiative. So yeah, that should be pretty cool. So yeah, for everyone else, Firebase auth, Draftbit's probably not going to support like a Draftbit homegrown auth anytime soon. It's not something that gets requested a lot. It's covered so well by other services. It kind of falls into it's like the same thing as when people ask us, will Draftbit roll its own CMS? It's not ruled out, but like, why would you want to use a Draftbit CMS when you could use Airtable, Firebase, Backendless, Supabase, all of the other like really awesome services? Why would you want to use one that Draftbit built? At least for the time being. Never say never.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're now, because I ramble, we're a little bit over time. So I'm going to conclude this live stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Aman, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much, Nick.
I'm really excited about the stuff that we're going to do next week in this community build. So this should be pretty sweet. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Take care.